Once you lose that first fight, maybe a second fight, then you have a little bit of time to swap. But when, you know, it's only 100 seconds. Every percentage tick is about 1 second. So you have to think really, really quickly. You can't really make that decision later on when it's 70% to, you know, that's going to be the end. You know, you swap at the last second, it's not going to be enough time. So I think Siena is just going to have to play decisively, and they're running the meta. This is a very standard comp right now. This is something we usually don't see, and now I'm getting it as I think that they swap back. So yeah, this makes a little bit more sense now that we know their RIT's on the left. Siena, they're going to be on the right, so this is not meta, and that's where they might struggle a bit, but who knows, maybe this Trojan will pop off.
And Essel on this Mei always cause a little bit of problems for the enemy teams, really putting up those consistent Mei walls, manipulating that geometry perfectly, and this might be a great opportunity here for Siena. Try to get the early kills as we see that Mei wall come up, and half the team already sectioned off. It's going to be a rough spot for Siena as everybody continues to just barrel in from RIT. Freezing coming in. No death on the side of RIT if they get first point.
A flawless fight there, and Essel has talked to us a few times, and both times I've talked to them, I mean, they love Mei. They ran Mei when it wasn't meta. Now that Mei is meta, they do a great job with those walls. You saw there, completely saved their Reinhardt, completely saved EGFC, cut off the rest of Siena from their main tank, and from there they just went in, found the kills, and I mean, EGFC, just what a beast at this Reinhardt, already 10% away from the shatter.
Yeah, it's going to be an Earth Fire Strike and maybe a couple more swings, or just hitting the Roadhog twice. It's going to be Blue Jay helping them to take that kill in their favor. As we look to RIT already getting these kills handily, Link not having to invest that Earth Shatter. We're going to be saving it for next fight.
Yeah, it's a great decision to save it. There gets a really nice charge, able to help get that Roadhog done. Everyone was focus firing Seth3, so they didn't really have a chance to live despite the fact that they had that damage reduction when they're using their E ability. It's really hard to pure Roadhog right now. RIT now, they have so many options, and look at where Choco Man is.
Choco Man in a very good spot to drop the high noon. It doesn't look like Siena's too savvy onto that. They do have the grab to contest with, so you'll be Choco Man dropping right behind, not going for the high noon, instead just fanning the hammer in the back, rolling, throwing it again. Dancing in the middle of this amplification field, and already looks like RIT again still managing to hold very strong.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that Choco Man got up there with the Mei wall, but that's a great spot. They might be a little bit wary to now if you're Siena, because you saw where they dropped from, but they still have the high noon, they still have the Mei Blizzard, they still have that Earth Shatter. It was the first thing they got online, they haven't used it. Look at
oh no.
He's trying to set up from behind, but right now Siena's going to be rotating away from where this Reinhardt is positioning.
But this is good for RIT. It looks like the Reinhardt's going to be coming in from behind. The Cold, we're not even calling it out. Going to be managing to get the Earth Shatter, knocks everybody down, but surprisingly RIT can't capitalize too heavily on that. Protocol takes down that immortality field, but that's not the only benefit Siena's going to get from this. They even throw in the Molten Sword, trying to get something done. Nourishment, that's going a little bit too far ahead of their team. Siena now going to be thrown even more ultimates to try and crack this nut, but there's only so much that they can do. Nothing again, as Logic gets a rapid set of kills, but a nice Mei wall coming out from the big arm from the process.
There's so many good plays there from Siena, but they just can't get the job done. A great Molten Core to create space, a great Blizzard on point, but everyone's already falling around you. They just couldn't do enough there, unfortunately. They did stick with their comp, which I like. They did have ultimates at the end to win that fight and possibly turn that point around, make it a 100-99, but there the team play just wasn't enough. RIT going to be taking that first round, and they're going to be staying on this comp that's worked out so well for them.
And if it's not broke, don't fix it. A very valuable kind of nugget of wisdom there coming in. And I think Rochester, even if it wasn't working, they'd still probably just keep riding that Mei. Essel always looks rather good on it, although we do see the swap to Pharah every once in a while. But on University, you're fine just to keep it Mei.
Yeah, this is the best place to be running this composition on Oasis. It's just always been the home of the Reinhardt. Very brawly, very close quarters. This is going to be so good for RIT. You see, they charge in, they use the speed to get onto the point quickly, and now they just have to wait for to be met there. And this is a Junkrat. I feel like I've seen this a few times on University. It can work actually because of the way that those grenades can bounce.
And you mentioned it there, the speed coming in from RIT can be allowing them to get that very advantageous positioning. Siena goes for that Mega Room to try to get some sort of beneficial spot, but only so much they can do, and it's going to be Pangolin who gets taken down by an Icicle to the dome. From this RIT look to keep pushing their advantage here. Aquaman's getting in some flashbangs, getting in the stuns, and the kills to follow.
All of the kills in the world. Again, a very clean first fight. Took a little bit of time to cap the point, but I don't think that's a big deal. I think the biggest thing right now is that Blue Jay Missouri has to be a big pickle. One thing I wanted to point out was that their bubbles have been really good, especially the projected ones. They have twice saved enemies that were hooked out in the last round. They're able to save also a Baptiste that was stuck in a blizzard last round, so great job at Blue Jay to protect their teammates. But this is a topic we see from Siena a lot. They go to the Reinhardt Winston when things are working out, and it usually doesn't work out too much better.
We saw SF staying in behind the back end of Siena. What are they going to be trying to do? They're just firing icicles for the time being, but it's buying enough of a distraction to get the kills with this Siena looking like they're on thin ropes right now.
Yeah, Essel, just again, we've already mentioned it. Great May, great projectile DPS player overall. They are taking risks today. They are not scared to evolve. And this is now twice they're going to be holding the exact same angle, different character with the Reinhardt again looking for that flank shatter. And are they going to turn around this time? They will.
Ellie Deputy not going to be able to get it separate. Taking that turn, but a look at section off. Deputy up on the high ground on top of the main wall, I should say. Aquaman getting sectioned off, not going to be able to do too much with the 100. I might have spoken a bit too early, as it's going to be the Mercy taken down. RIT now continues to push up with their wins.
They do use a lot of ultimates for RIT, so if you've seen it, that's a good thing. You get them to use almost everything except their sound barrier. This might actually be your best chance right now, especially if you can get that RIT tire online really quickly. They will have a sound barrier to counter it, but that's a good trade for you. That's a defensive ultimate out of the way, and then you can try to go in with your Blizzard or your Coalescence afterwards.
Question to me now becomes, how does RIT cope with that RIP tire? Should they be looking to invest in that sound barrier? RIP tire's gonna be going in, doesn't find too much. The main actually going into cryo form mitigates a lot of that damage. The main target not being found there. As we see the sound barrier now going to be coming out for Rochester, not being needed for that tire actually gives him a huge amount of benefit in this mid-fight. That's now just the May on point, getting swung on by the Reinhardt. Blizzard goes out, but it might be a bit too late, as now it's only scraps left to see.
Shatter online. Shatter has knocked everyone down and let the bodies hit the floor, Sir Waltham. That is going to be 2 points, going 99-0 for Rochester Institute of Technology. And, you know, I was talking about the sound barrier being the counter to the tire. I'm so smooth brain. They have the lamp. They have the immortality field. That's like an instant defensive ultimate that's online every 35 seconds. So they're using mortality field. Don't even need it because it doesn't actually hit anyone besides the May, who's already in cryo freeze. Just great play there. Great job. Did anyone even die on the side of RIT throughout that entire map?
I don't believe so. I don't have the stats on hand, of course, but overall still, it's gotta be said, RIT looking very dominant here. Of course, they're gonna be looking to walk away with the win here, but you want to be keeping that mentality as we look towards our next map in Numbani.
Yeah, and I think for Numbani, that's where the Winston Reinhardt hybrid tank line could actually work out really well. It's all about throwing your Winston on high ground, especially to that far right high ground, which a lot of defenders use to have their Ana or their Soldier 76 stand on, taking that away from them, and then have your Ryan just push mid, push onto the point. Again, it's not the greatest tank lineup in the world. It doesn't have a lot of synergy, but if you can play different parts of the map and create space everywhere, it can work out really well. We saw them try to run it that time on University. It did not work out well because it's such a tight corridor area. There's really no way to create space with a Winston there. But, you know, with the opportunities you can have on Numbani with a more divey comp, it could actually work out really well. So I'm interested to see if they try to run that once again.
And in general, going to be excited to see Numbani in all of its iterations tonight. Of course, this is not going to be the only time we're seeing it here today, Jack. We do see it in our matches coming up. But before we get moving on to our later meals, I guess we should finish this one first. RIT versus Siena, still looking very good. But as far as Siena goes, where do you think they're lacking the most, Jack? Because, I mean, as respectfully as I can say, there's definitely some room for improvement for this team.
Well, I mean, it could really just be a mechanical skill thing, unfortunately. You know, collegiate teams, there are teams that have all Grandmasters, Masters players. There are other teams, you know, more like a gold plat average. And you kind of have to field what you have at your university, right? Mm-hmm. But I think beyond that, the main thing, again, is like being disciplined with your compositions. I said it at the start of the broadcast about them playing a bit of musical chairs. There we did see it come out a little bit from Siena. And we'll see if they, you know, are able to kind of line things up a bit more, be able to stick it together, or if they'll try to, you know, swap things as the map goes on. And Bonnie, obviously, you know, depending on how long the map goes, it's okay to swap things after a certain point, because especially that third point favors a brawl more than a dive. Dive is strong on first and second point, but then you can try to go for a full swap once you get to the third point. But you got to get there first. You want to do it on your attack, and being the defenders this time around, see how that works. I think that the overlays might need to be swapped again, so we'll try to get that fixed for you in a second. As it actually is Siena going to be on the attack first this time, and you know, I think just even taking this first point honestly would be pretty dang bit of an accomplishment for them.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to walk away looking, this is where we look to excel in these one moments because, the likelihood of success may not be the most optimistic. And Sienna, definitely, I think if you're walking away with 1 point or even, a good chunk of progress on that first point, you look at it as a win compared to some of the other teams that have gone against RIT.
Yeah, they're going to be running a brawl comp, so they're going to be trying to probably run it all the way down to the middle of the point. I think the mistake that teams make if they try to run this brawl rush comp is that they try to take the high ground, because you can't really do anything once you're on the high ground. They have a Reaper too, so they really just want to run straight onto people, force them onto the point. That can work out. But RIT, they are running a dive comp, they are running double bubble with the Echo Junkrat, so they don't have a hit scan player. This might be the time for Siena College to try to bust out a Pharah.
And RIT, so we can already see really choking down those direct routes of entry that Siena might be trying to take. We already saw the traps get activated here. RIT successfully stifling down Siena as they have to look to reposition now. Already Essel halfway to that Riptire. Looking so powerful with Ace going down. This is not a great start for Siena. Already looking like they're a little bit low for numbers, and this is all just cleanup at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, you're just staggering yourself at that point with that cryo freeze. You have to, your team's have to wait longer, but your Ano's still alive too, so now team member is going to be a little bit late. I like the approach though. I like just going straight to the point. I like forcing him down, but once you're on the point, once you force that Winston to come down to you, you have to focus someone. You got to go all in on one target. Reaper does not counter Winston nearly as well as they used to because Winston now has more armor, so they can absorb a little bit more of that damage, so maybe go for the healers instead.
We'll see if Siena going to be taking that advice to heart. Nope, looks like half the team gets split off. A nice anti-nade coming in causes the backup to go in for RIT. They do take down Link FD, so the losses we were trying to count earlier, Jack, going to be going into effect here as Link FD, first one to fall on this side, RIT.
Yeah, and that's a big pick if you're able to stabilize quick enough. You do have a Lucio, so you might be able to just run in after this. They're missing their main tank. This would be huge. And I think you got to go for ZP Link. I think that's got to be your #1 target. We saw how valuable that Ana was in the fight with that anti-nade. But they're going to be using Essel's Riptire first.
This is a good decision here. It's going to be Nourishment as the one that's taken it down first. So perhaps not the Ana we were looking to get taken down, but the one that RIT will certainly be giving us. Blue Jay has this grab, but just the threat of the grab might be enough to dissuade here. And plus, this small area ensures that everybody's going to get locked down. Right now, not a whole lot going. Pangolin taking down Essel's a great opening.
Good trade, though. It's going to be a trade that works out in your favor because they need that Reaper online. That is the strength of their composition. They need to have them do the most amount of damage. You also have a grab still, so even if they do run in, you can try to use that just to zone them out. This is actually kind of looking dangerous, though, for RIT. If they don't get like a duplicate off or something and they all get like frozen up, it could be really bad for them.
We'll have to see. Veigar getting pushed right into the front of the action, but taken down. Throws that perhaps just a bit wide. That Blizzard put onto the point. FD trying to be the remaining member to hold down that mouse one button for RIT, and they succeed.
Yeah, my biggest worry there is that, just overpower RIT with ults, but they actually overcommit and they don't get anything against. Target focus. We saw how that fight developed. Everyone is looking somewhere else for Siena College. They get a really nice Blizzard and doesn't really get anyone at the end of the day. They use the Nano and Ryan is swinging away, but no one is there with Seth3 to make sure that they fall, or the person they're swinging on falls afterwards. So it's a little bit more communication to go a very long way. They still do have a sound barrier as well as a Death Blossom. So there are tools right now for Siena, but it's not looking good.
I like that Siena's changing up their routing, though. They're not going in the same small, confined area where Link FD is going to be able to get a lot of that cleave damage done. Going to be the Primal coming out, trying to hop right onto that Mei, throwing a lot of damage. Pangolin dropping the Death Blossom, not finding anything for it as it gets stunned out.
Yeah, mace to the face, am I right?
True.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. It was actually the shield bash, but still, I love that line.
Yeah, it's good.
You don't want to use that so close to any CC. Like, you wouldn't want to go for a Death Blossom near McCree, so you don't want to do it near Brigitte either. So again, a lot of ultimates coming out from Siena, none of them finding value. RIT, they're still going to have 3 online for themselves, including that duplicate that they've been saving for a rainy day. So RIT has a very good chance of holding this fully.
They certainly do. No grab ensures that Siena College will be able to get through mostly unbothered. Seth3 goes for the Earth Shatter and absolutely takes a fat charge coming into Choco Man, who then drops an Earth Shatter of their own, letting them know how it's done. The Riptire going out as well, just to take down Ace. Not going to matter. Overtime takes them down. No progress made for Siena.
Just kept all their ultimates to the end or used them when they needed to. RIT, they are so efficient, so clean, a very well executed game plan to keep that point with no capture progress for Siena. Siena was very close to getting that first tick a few times, just couldn't actually get the job done, dropped the ball a little bit. And again, I'm going to bring it back to target focus because I feel like they actually did a great job of building ultimates, something they struggled a bit more with on the control map Oasis. There, they were able to do some real damage, but you know, it doesn't matter how many targets you get weak if none of them actually end up going back to spawn.
Yeah, I mean, we saw even the instances where RIT did lose a member, but it typically came at the cost of very low health for Siena or a trade. That's not a spot you want to be in.
And that's surprising too, because like usually if you trade as an attacker on a first point, that's your go key. Like that is your green light because you can regroup much quicker, and if you, especially if you have a Lucio, you can just speed in. But they were never able to really stabilize after they got that pick onto Link FD. From there, you know, if you can't stabilize at the right moment at the right time, it's very difficult to actually get a capture pointer. You know, get point progress. So they couldn't do it. See if they can hold a bit better. They are going to be going for a bunker composition, so they're going to be putting a lot of resources onto Veigar, who's going to be on Bastion. That's going to be kind of their key to victories. Make sure Veigar does not fall. Essel's going to be on the Genji, though. Genji is such a good counter going into Bastion. The deflect, the dash, the Nano Blade, all of it works out super, super well for RIT if they play their cards right. So even with this bunker composition, I think that RIT will be able to have a pretty good time on this attack.
Very fascinated to see how long Siena can hold out here with this Bastion composition. Already just throwing pellets down, like Lego bricks, as opposed to down that main pathway here. Here the Rat-a-tat trying to come through, a little bit of damage as well, but not enough to cause any kills, not even enough to really make anybody uncomfortable here. Dive comes through pretty solidly with the projected barrier from the Zarya. Veigar has to take a moment just to heal up, but takes a sleep dart. That's a good opening for RIT to come in here and disrupt things just a little bit. And Tracer's going to do exactly that, just cause that Bastion to look around. Gonna be Chocoman continuing to play around that corner, being very careful not to feast themselves and get shredded to bits. But already it looks like the repositioning has had to come from Siena, and that's not a great signal for them, as now the Bastion does go down, and this looks like the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, it's just an Ana and an Orisa. Both of them are so weak. You're going to see there's going to be a primal jump all the way on to everyone in their sights. And that's going to be a very quick take. Only took them a minute and 5 seconds to win that 33% they needed in the map. I think the problem with Siena's comp is that they weren't running a Baptiste. I feel like just, you know, usually when you see a Baptiste in that composition, because if something happens to your Bastion, Immortality Field immediately. I like the Mercy. The Mercy is great. You can get that Resurrection. You can pocket the Bastion with either Heal Beam or the Damage Beam. The Ana, it just doesn't work in that situation, and because of that, they didn't have enough to save their Bastion, and from there, everything went right for RIT. Nothing went right for Siena, and now RIT, they're only one map away from putting this game on ice, and you know, it's not taking them a whole lot of time to do it either.
It's certainly not. It's one of the faster games we see between, you know, two teams here at this organization. But overall, we do have an opportunity for Siena to take a moment, catch their breath, recompose themselves. As we're going to be taking it to a short break, folks. We'll be back with the potential conclusion of RIT versus Siena on the back end. And we're back to map 3, Siena versus RIT. So far, been going pretty handily towards RIT, but Siena might be looking to change that up, Jag, as we go to Volskaya.
Yeah, they definitely want to find something to hold on to, something to help give them an edge here in this matchup because it has been all RIT all the time thus far. We saw them break out the bunker comp, and I feel like that could actually be something that gives them life here, especially on defense, but you gotta play it with the right characters. You gotta play it, I feel like, with a Narissa, with a Baptiste. It's an old meta, it's a meta that we haven't seen in a while, but it's a composition that can work when you run it particularly well. Maybe in throwing a Symmetra, who knows? You can teleport from different ends of the high ground. I love that composition, that technique. Just go from left to right with your Bastion, making sure they stay alive. But we won't see that for a little bit, at least, because Siena is going to be on the attack. Looks like they're going to be trying a bit of a Brawl Dive hybrid. And what concerns me most is the fact that they're not running a Lucio, so they don't really have anything to enable Sethri to be running in. But the good news is that, like, with their DPS and with a Zenyatta, if they hit the Discord Orb on the right target and their Tracer and Echo can find that target and mow them down quickly, that can be a really easy pick for them to get into a fight.
Have to agree, absolutely crucial here, however, the tanks to sort of keep up. It's going to be a little bit difficult as we see Siena. They need to put their DPS on the same pace as their tanks as opposed to taking a little bit more of that lead. And initially, Choco Man going to be catching out Seth, courtesy of the Maywall from Essel. No surprise there, Pangolin's going to be the next one to fall. And with this RIT now pushing aggressively ahead, actually going to be getting, I thought it was 2, but it might just be the 1 blue kill on the nerf.
And this is why you run Lucio, right? Just look at the fight engagement they just had. They can just wait, bide their time, clean up what's closer to them, and then they can run and chase away all those kills. I was gonna say Siena, like, they didn't lose everyone, so that's not too much ult charge they gave up, but I'm glad I didn't say that because I would have been a liar.
Ooh, and starting off again with the kill right on the Pangolin. A nice icicle coming in from Essel. It feels like I'm always highlighting that Mei player coming through. Now might be looking to set up another Mei wall, but hanging out. You're gonna find Mini dropping it, sectioning off the tanks, and I believe 1 support as well. The outside it's gonna be coming through. FD gonna be taking a little bit of a nap, but Choco Man says, "Don't worry, don't wake the Reinhardt. I got us." 3
headshots back to back right there for Choco Man. There was actually a really good anti-nade that came in from Nourishment, but again, it's that Baptiste immortality build every time from CP Link. It has saved the team so many times there. Completely canceled out the anti-nade, and now it looks like Choco Man might be trying to go for a flank, which doesn't surprise me because this team has been flanking all day.
Pangolin just trying to find some sort of opening here, but that leaves their backline a little bit weakened as we can see Choco Man creeping about. Sinks onto the Zenyatta, seems to be hitting everything, but it's going to be Blue Jay, however, ends up cleaning the supports. And with that, the flank not as successful, but the push, or the defense, definitely.
Yeah, and look at the ultimate bank. It's looking so nice for RIT. They're going to have everything online except maybe their sound barrier. Everything else will be definitely online Siena College. The only thing that they are going to be having is their pulse bomb. Maybe a nano, depending on how that works. But now, both TPS from RIT are trying to flank. I'm assuming they use the Maywall to get up there or something. Oh my god, this is going to be the drop, and there's the Blizzard.
Oh, and the Blizzard coming through with the Death Blossom on top as the nice little cherry. It's the Zarya, it's the Tracer. Make it just the Zarya, make it nobody. Left standing.
And I gotta think that, again, that might be a bit of an overcommitment there. Like, you don't really need the Death Blossom on top of the Mei Blizzard because everyone's frozen up, but style points, right? Gotta get those nice combinations online. RIT, they're still gonna have so much. The Shatter, the Grab, and, oh no, actually Choco Man might have been caught out here a little bit.
I like that adaptation coming in from Siena. They're finally gonna start keeping their eyes towards the sky, and already Link FD caught in a very vulnerable position. Can't quite receive as much healing from their supports. It's going to be the grab going out from Blue Jay, however, allowing everybody to get clustered up and a lot of damage to go through, but Choco Man getting taken down, that's a lot of the teeth pulled from this defensive team. RIT now lacking in manpower, but it doesn't look like it matters. They're just going to come through, use the ultimates as they need, and out-focus this other team.
Yeah, they do win this fight, but it's really dangerous now because they lost a few in between. Yeah, they're going to have their Lucio actual go back and taxi everyone. And while the Reaper's going to be there, it's the Baptiste. They need to get this Baptiste back pronto. And your Reinhardt is still critical health, so they're going to have to find a health pack or something.
The question is, does Siena recognize this? Can they push in with this aggression? Already we see them spending a little bit too much time at the choke to really take advantage here. Essel once again catching out Sethri. You can't let this happen every time, but apparently it will be happening this time. Duplicate as well coming out. from Vagar. Gonna be trying to get the swings. Goes in for the Earthshatter, finds nothing but a big fat goose egg. And with this, looks like it's all cleanup for the side of RIT. 5 seconds left. The question is, will anybody touch? The answer to that seems to be no.
Yeah, they had the grab dragon combination online, so to come through a bit too late, a dollar short, and right into not only a sound barrier, but an immortality field as well. In RIT, things were looking very dangerous for them. They got very overconfident. We're going into positions they really shouldn't have been. Like, you know, it's fun to do a few times. It's fun to catch them off guard, but when you do the exact same thing over and over again, eventually Siena's going to catch on to it. They got a few kills, but they just could not get the most important ones. They could not take down Link FD. I think if they had been able to know their advantage there, that Reinhardt was solo, if they had ran in up on it, killed them, they would have just been able to march onto the point. But again, no Lucio on the side for Siena College, no way to actually engage that.
Best laid plans sometimes fall to dust, it seems, Jag. But as now we look ahead, these rosters going to be revealed, and no, perhaps not too surprisingly, if you've been watching Siena, we're going to be seeing that Torbjorn come out of initial lock.
Yeah, and I do like this pick a lot. I think depending on where you put the Torture, it can get a lot of value. Just put it kind of farther back on the high ground, make sure that no one's flanking you, maybe even get in a position where it can just still be shooting out the choke point. It's all about knowing map geography and knowing where it should go. But they are going to be going with the Bastion as well, so I mentioned that they probably run the bunker again. They are going to do that, but now I feel like this is not... I feel like this is not as good as it was last time with their support lineup. The players are great, but the characters, again, it's not the right choice. Like Mercy Baptiste, that is what you got to go for with the Bastion. Before they at least had a Mercy, now it's Zenyatta Ana, so you can't really do much to save your Bastion if they're focus fired.
And the question here becomes, how applicable can that Discord orb even be? Very forward hold coming in from Siena. Essel might be looking to set up a May wall section off a large chunk of the team, or even just block the Bastion for a moment. And there goes the Reinhardt. Now the Ori soon to follow, but the Bastion going to be tearing through a rather quick form. Vagar having to take a moment to heal, but can't quite find the necessary solder as is needed. RIT now pushing directly onto point. Gonna see Link FD looking to just swing heavy. Doesn't find the kills, but Essel and Choco Man certainly will.
That's going to be the end of Volskaya in this series. Siena, they show so much promise. They show so many good ideas, but they just can't fully execute them. I was going to say this, but I didn't want to cut you off as the fight started. The fact that they were playing that on the low ground, it just meant this game was over for them, because you need to play that at distance. You need to play far back as possible. On Nambani, they had a great idea of where to play it. Here they needed to play it, you know, same position, you know, top left, top right. They need to do something to make sure that their Bastion is as far away as possible, because the spread for Bastion is still going to always work out in your favor. You can just spray away and you'll still find a ton of chunk damage here and there. That time Bastion playing on the ground immediately gets run up on, and you said the Maywall, you're waiting for Essel to position it. They did it at the exact right time. That was a great opportunity for RIT to run in, and they capitalized. And just, again, another very quick map. RIT going to take this series in no time.
And one of our faster games, no doubt here, Jag. And RIT, again, what else can you say? But they kind of speed ran this one just a little bit. I'm not saying it's the fastest times we've seen. I don't have those stats on hand, but it's definitely contender to be in like the top 5, top 3, maybe. Siena College, however, probably has a lot of tape to kind of go back and review, kind of look over, see what they want to analyze, and see if maybe any of this kind of comes to heart as to, you know, oh, this is where we need to improve, this is where we can improve, and these are the steps we should be taking to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's nothing better than VOD review. I mean, that's like the best you can do as a player in any game, in any sport, just going over tape to see where you could have done things better, see where you did do things well, and continue those kind of practices. But, you know, a VOD is not a win, so next week, I'm sure, as we get into our final weeks here at EGFC regular season, they're going to be trying to find some more W's along the way. But enough about this matchup from us. You want to hear from the players yourselves, I'm pretty sure, and we're going to have an interview with one of those players from RIT in just a few moments. We'll be back after this quick break.
And hello, folks. We are back once again. This time, we're in the interview booth, a little bit different from our normal casting booth, but we're in with the one and only Essel. At least that might be a pretty large assumption. Essel, I'm assuming you don't have any doppelgangers anywhere.
Last time I checked, no, but there might be some new ones.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for them. But until then, welcome back to the interview booth. We've had you here a couple of times, and of course, you know, we're going to ask you about May. We're going to ask you about the game. But overall, before we get into that, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well.
Now, I wanna kind of look back to last week. I know that was not the best week by statistical definition here, but did that at all play into your mindset, or were you guys still feeling pretty confident going up against Siena this week?
We're still confident, especially because we look at that and we're like, oh yeah, we do need to work on that. It's better to happen now in the mid-season in a game that we win 3-0, 3-1, instead of happening in the finals where we're like, oh, we really got to win a 2CP map, and then we lose the 2CP map.
Yeah, and I think that's a great attitude, like seeing like, hey, like, you know, our game still has places where we can improve despite a great amount of success. That's, I think, the second map you've lost overall through 13, now 14 matchups, so still, statistically, you guys are doing amazing. I want to talk about the patch that dropped today. All those experimental changes went live, including one for your favorite character, May. You've been playing her a lot. You played her even when she wasn't really meta. Now she is, and now I feel like you said it yourself during break. Brawl is even stronger. But just let's talk about this cryo free change. Now the healing per second is increased from 37.5 to 50. Do you think that is too overpowered for me, or do you think now she's in a pretty good place?
I think she's in a fine place. I think it doesn't actually change her up too much, because most of the times if you're ice blocking, you're in a situation where you want to keep that ice block on you and you don't really care too much about the heals. Because unless you like don't have a healer alive and you're trying to get back in the fight, that's when it'll really matter, in those long drawn out fights where your healers get picked. You're like, oh, I don't want my healer have to look at me right now because I'm maybe away from the team, or maybe it's an Ana healing and she's solo healing the Rhine. You're like, I want to just stay alive right now and I don't want her to worry about me and just focus on our Rhine. It's kind of situations like that where she'll be back in the fight a little bit faster. So I think it's a small buff, and I think it's not too unreasonable.
Fair enough. And I got one more question before I throw you back to Sir Walthing. It's going to be staying with this theme of these updates, these changes in the patch. Genji, recovery time is a bit lower, ultimate time, or the ultimate cost is a bit more expensive. We saw, I believe you busted out very briefly on Nbani for your guys' attack that went very efficiently, only 1 minute and 5 seconds. That was the time it took for you guys to capture that 33%. Do you think there's going to be more of Genji in the future on a lot of different map types, or do you think it's more situational and more just when it's a dive-oriented kind of map?
I think it's more situational, because if you look at the statistics of it, he shoots, I think it's 11% faster, but 15% more ult charge. So overall, it's actually a nerf to Genji, kind of, which is a weird sort of thing. So I think you won't see him. I think you'll see him just as much, but I think you're maybe going to see him less focused around Nanoblade and more focused around like just being a quick finisher of kills, especially since he can shoot just a little bit faster. I think that'll help him out a lot on finishing off certain kills.
Certainly makes a lot of sense there, and perhaps there'll be a welcome change. Different playstyles always meet different tastes, but for now we'll just have to see how that develops. But until next time, Essel, we do want to thank you for hopping into the interview booth. But before we let you go, as usual, we do like to give the opportunity to give any shout-outs.
Once again, shout out to my team. Played well today. Shout out to the enemy team. Yeah, just everyone in the match. Everyone on EGF for hosting the match.
Okay.
About it.
All right, well, straightforward and very simple. Once again, thank you very much, Essel, for hopping in here, answering a few of our questions, and just in general, hanging out.
Thank you for having me.
And